Hello, welcome to the Tutors of Life podcast, where we research life so you don't have to. Episode 321. This is your host, Shaun Tutor.
And this is Sam. And this is a Tutor episode where we try to teach you something new.
What's up?
It's another day.
Another Sunday.
Another Sunday.
You struggling?
Yep. You know, it helps if I talk in the correct direction of the microphone.
It does.
Okay, I'm good.
Is that actually where you want to talk?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. What's new?
It's I don't know, a weekend. Just got back from Ashland, took a nap. Shaun bought his car.
I got the car.
How much do you love it?
Actually, a lot.
That's good.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
It is literally a dadmobile.
Dadmobile 1000.
It'll be good.
It's sweet. It drives nice. I got Bluetooth and a backup camera. I'm like, fancy.
Trunk for days.
Massive. So much space. Yeah, very happy with it.
That's good.
Yeah. So, HBU.
Like what's new with me or what?
How do you like it?
Oh, I like it. It's fun. It's a very, I don't know, you car kind of, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Cool. Just practical?
Yeah.
Cool. What's a me car?
I don't know. There's just lots of different, because you like to just have lots of tools and stuff on you at all times. And that one's just very practical because you can fit so much stuff in there. And I think you can actually keep it organized and looking nice.
Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else you got?
I don't know. Hopefully getting most of the basement done.
This week?
And that's what I got. Nothing fun. Nothing interesting.
I agree. That would be very cool to get most of that done this week. Very cool indeed. All right.
What are we tutoring on?
Validation. Seeking validation.
Yeah. On my way back from Ashland, I listened to episode 754 of the Real AF podcast.
Is that the one I recommended last week?
It is. It's the one you posted in your story.
Banger.
Yeah. It's titled something about like young entrepreneurs and something else. But the last question. Oh, sorry, guys. The last question was interesting. I don't actually remember what the last question was, but Andy, like always, starts going off because he was mentioning how so many people that ask questions are asking things to seek validation. And he's just like, you shouldn't be seeking for validation. But I think that's something that's like really big, at least with like our generation, for sure. I know I do it, and it's like something I know I do, and I've been trying to not do it. It is something that's been very hard for me to not do. But yeah, I think it's a huge issue with our generation. And I don't know if it was from how our parents raised us or from how we got schooled. And I think it's also just getting worse and worse because from what I know is teachers in schools don't like to tell students that they're wrong anymore. Like they like to ask like, oh, why do you think that? Or something. Which maybe that's a good thing, but I don't know. But I think that's something with us, like I saw a Instagram post about how with kids, like if they bring you a painting and they say, Daddy, look at my painting. And you say, oh, good job. It's really pretty. Well, then they got a reward for bringing you something. So now every time they bring you a painting, they're seeking for validation and want you to tell them that it's good.
Yeah.
And that can continue on through the rest of your life.
Right.
Or the kid's life. And so this guy was saying how instead of saying, oh, that's really good, you should ask them and be like, well, what do you think about it? Because then they have to learn how to self-reflect.
Right.
And make them think like, oh yeah, what do I think of it? Because I was like thinking about like things I've done in the past, and very easily like I could just self-reflect on it and like, okay, like how do I feel about this handbook I made? Okay, well, I know there's like some things I could edit in there. We could add some more stuff. But instead, like, I'm like, Shaun, look at this. Look at this thing I made. But I should have been self-reflecting and trying to perfect the product. And then just be happy with the product that I produced, not happy from the reaction I got from you.
Makes sense.
But I mean, I do think it is something that like we can help our future children by not just getting them praise right away, but teaching them from an early age to self-reflect.
Yeah, I like it. It's true.
Other parts of validation, since Shaun's not going on at all, he's thinking. Other things that I've thought about too was like another part of validation that you can get. So the whole point of not trying to feel validated by like being able to self-reflect is you can self-motivate yourself. So instead of looking for motivation from others saying that you're doing a good job, you're able to just keep motivating yourself by achieving the things that are great to you. And another way that like I was thinking about this is when Shaun and Ryan started the group homes, Shaun had a lot of people telling him like, this is a terrible idea. You shouldn't be doing this. You're going to ruin those people's lives. You can't do this. Like, it was a lot of negative towards that business. And Shaun was just like, I'm going to prove y'all wrong.
Right.
And he did.
Right.
And so, like, I was thinking about it, and we've discussed this, how stable living just seemed to grow so much faster than what the construction business is growing. And not just, like, in size of a business, but, like, in certain parts of it, it seemed like that business was so much easier to make a smooth process than the construction business. And we were thinking about it, and I was like, well, what if we pushed so much harder on that business because we wanted to prove all those people wrong? And now we have the construction business, and we don't have anyone telling us, this is a terrible idea. Why are you doing this? You're ruining people's lives. So we don't have any of that negative motivation to push us to try to work harder on that business. And so now Shaun and I don't have that negative motivation to push us to work harder on that business than we did with Stable Living. And so now we need to work on self-reflection instead of trying to get validation for doing a good job or proving people wrong, to make our construction business start going, or making that business faster again, like we did for Stable Living.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see validation. I've seen it a lot. I see validation most when people do things and they think other people should also do it. So like I see it in the real estate realm a lot. People will get into real estate and they'll be like, they'll get into real estate and they'll think what they're doing is best or whatever, right? So they'll try to convince other people like, hey, you should invest in real estate. And it's like, okay, well, those people took a risk and did something. Now they're trying to get other people to take a risk to validate them doing it, to make it seem like what they did was the right thing. Because the more people that do it, the more it validates them. Like, yeah, see, I did the right thing by taking the risk, right? I see it with people who like start dating somebody, get married, have kids. It's like every step they do it, they're trying to convince other people to do it too. And it's like, okay, but all they're doing is trying to validate that they made the right choice in what they did, instead of just truly enjoying what they did, right?
Yeah.
It's like every CrossFitter ever telling everyone they do CrossFit,
Oh, yeah.
looking for validation that they do it, trying to get other people to do CrossFit and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
They're just trying to get everybody on board that like they're doing the right thing by spending way too much money on a gym membership and lifting with terrible form and potentially injuring themselves, and they're like, you guys need to do this. So there's a lot of that. I would say the internet's kind of like riddled with that, of people like posting things they do looking for validation.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's bad to do that.
Social media has really ruined us because for sure people are posting online to get the likes and the comments and the replies and all that type of like validation. I mean, Shaun and I, with this podcast, we have 42 YouTube subscribers. We average about 20 views on both YouTube. Well, 20 views on YouTube, 20 listens on podcasts. And we keep going because we're very self-motivated with this. We're not seeking validation that like what we're doing is right or anything. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily care about the likes or follows or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen it plenty of times of like people getting a guy getting a girlfriend and then trying to set their friend up with one of her friends so they can go on double dates together or something. Right. And it's just like, yeah, it would be cool. And like, you just want it to seem like it's a good thing that you're like, have a girlfriend, but maybe the other person's not ready to have a girlfriend, or maybe that's not their interest right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of things, dude. I see it in business big time. Someone starts a business and they're like, oh my God, having a business is awesome. Everyone should have their own business. It's like, no, they should not. Mm-mm. No, they should not. Most people shouldn't. Mm-mm. I think most people, I think if we weren't raised the way we were raised, most people could be self-employed. But with how the education system is, how everybody's been raised, what they've been taught, I think it's terrible. I don't think, I'm talking maybe 5% of people should be self-employed. Maybe 10, and then 1% should be entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. I just think that, people so much go with the flow. Yeah. And they just do like whatever they're told. So, I mean, just look at how many people are told to go to a 4-year college and go get a degree. So once you get your degree, go get your job, put your money away in your 401k, and then retire at 65. Yeah. And people they're just like, yep, I'm in. Okay. And so then they just go through that. Now, you'll have somebody who goes against the grain, wants to start their own business or like do something a little different, right? And sometimes those people will tell other people and whatever, like, hey, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. You should have your own business because of X, Y, and Z, and you can make more and you can be your own boss and you can have freedom and whatever. And they're just looking for validation that they made the right move. Mm-hmm. The thing is like, okay, do you have a good work ethic? Right. Do you know how to manage finances? Have you ever managed people? Are you prepared to market? Do you know how to do the work that you're going to be doing?
Are you disciplined and self-motivated?
Right. Are you disciplined, self-motivated? Are you going to actually go to work 40, 50 hours a week? And then are you going to go home and do the back end shit of the business you need to do, right? So there's things like that where people will talk people into doing things just to validate that they made the right decisions themselves, instead of going like, hey, you know, do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to have your own business? What kind of things do you currently do that would bode well in that? Do you enjoy free time? Like, what do you do on your free time? What are your hobbies? You know, shit like that. To get an idea of like why somebody may want, like, if it even makes sense for them to do it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like don't like spread your like what you're doing and try to convince others to do it. Like like do it strategically. Like ask them questions, make sure it's something that aligns with them, and not just be like, oh, you can make more money if you start your own business.
Right.
It's just like, well, do you actually know that person, or are you just trying to tell everyone you know to start their own business?
Right. Yeah, there's a big difference between like there's always a big difference between it's like the lighthouse and rescue boat thing, right? It's like lighthouse is just showing the way, right? Like being the beacon, right, is the lighthouse. Like people can look for that for advice, guidance, mentorship, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the rescue boat is going out and saving someone in a wreck. And they're in a wreck and you go, oh, you could fix this by getting married.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think those two things are kind of, you know, where it's at. It's like I don't try to tell people like, hey, you need to lift weights because I lift weights. It's like, I mean, I lift weights. I've been doing it for 15 years. There's a shit ton of research saying you should lift weights. I mean, if I was in your shoes, I'd consider it. But I'm not trying to convince you to lift weights so that, like, I feel good about myself that I lift weights.
Right.
And shit like that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's just such an interesting like world we live in right now, because it was before social media and the internet. I don't think getting validation was much of a thing people did.
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, people did it, but I mean, I'm sure it's gotten way worse.
Yeah. I mean, because Shaun and I were talking about on their way up north about farmers and how, like, Shaun knows many farmers that have a full-time job and still did all their farming chores. And so you got to think they worked from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day and never bat an eye at it, never complained.
Right.
Just did it.
Right. It just worked. Yeah. It's
But they were the hardworking men that made life easy to now make weak men.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I just think it's an interesting thing of, like, stopping to ask yourself, you know, why you're doing something. Like, are you seeking approval of others? Are you recommending stuff to seek approval of others? Are you doing things for the approval of others? Things like that. And see if it's worth it or not.
Yeah. And you can, like, asking yourself those questions is just so easy and helps you stop and think about things. Because I know what I've been, like, starting to work on, and Shaun probably doesn't even realize this, that I have been. But, like, usually it happens when, like, you're gone for a weekend or a night or something, and I'll, like, do something around the house, And before, like, as soon as Shaun got back, I was just like, oh, let me show you what I did. And more recently, like, I internally want to say that out loud to you and want you to go look at it. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to wait because we had other things to do. Want to hear about Shaun's weekend. Like, it doesn't have to be about what I did. And I mean, usually you'll probably ask me what I did and I'll be like, oh yeah, I can show you if you want to see upstairs or whatever.
Right.
But I have to like mentally think about it and hold it in. So I'm not like asking right away or telling you right away.
Right. I mean, that's kind of just trying to be like selfless.
Yeah.
You know? I do it. I will say there is a couple, there's like going to be a caveat, and this is going to be the main caveat I can think of. If you're doing something and you are like maybe 70% sure what you're doing, but you're working alongside someone who's 100% sure, and you go, hey, did I do this right? And they let you know like yay or nay. Mm-hmm. And so then you can proceed to do the next things on the list, right? That I would say is not validation. That's like reviewing your work to make sure
you're doing it correctly.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I'll do that at like job site. Like if I'm working with Mike or Kyle or Adam and Nate, I'll do that. Mm-hmm. Rico, whatever. I'll be like, hey guys, I don't do this often. I just did this. Did I do it right? And they'll be like, yep, or meh, you could have done this different. I'm like, cool. So, I mean, shit like that is,
But yeah, that's like usually during and you're asking a question like, oh, what do you think of this? And not being like, let me show you what I did.
I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Got anything else on validation?
Not really. I just think as a population, we need to just start working on our self-reflection skills. If you guys haven't noticed, Shaun and I really don't post on Facebook or Instagram much.
Terrible. And we need to.
Yeah, and we need to. But yeah, I mean, in that type of realm, we are very private people and don't seek for validation in that type of way. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I would think if you have kids and are more curious about like trying to teach your kids to not be seeking for validation, definitely look up some things. And for yourself, just think about those questions that Shaun asked of more of those questions you just said.
Oh, just like, is what you're doing, are you doing it for yourself or for someone else? Mm-hmm. And like, why are you doing something? Is it, are you trying to get somebody to do something to make you feel better? Or are you doing something to try and get a praise or something from somebody else?
Yeah. So just doing that, and then kind of when you finish things, to just sit and reflect on it and ask yourself how you feel about it. Do you think you could have done a better job? Is there something you can change to make it better? Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, like in due time, you don't have to show off everything you do, because eventually people will notice that you are doing things. You don't have to tell people that you're doing all this stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. All right, gang. Thanks for tuning in.
Catch you on Friday.
See ya.